Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the garage on a Sunday for another show with Andy, the Gabby, Cabby, and friends. I hope everyone is okay this evening. Really good to see everybody, and thank you for coming along. Before we get into things, what I want to talk about this evening, I just want to apologise straight up for my absence last week. On Sunday last week, I did try to reschedule a live during the week as well, but it didn't work out that way. We have got an awful lot of, family things going on at the moment, and it happened that I couldn't get here Sunday. I had all intentions of doing it, lining something up, and no, it just didn't work out. But thankfully tonight I'm here, normal service resumed, and we're all good to go. Just a quick hello to a few people. If I can ask as well, if you've just come in here, please hit the thumbs up, because that does help the YouTube algorithm. Kick this around everywhere, and it's very much appreciated. And I think I'm getting near 122,000 subscribers, something like that. Joe Daly, hi Andy, how's you tonight? I'm fine, thank you. Good to see you. That's somebody watching from X. Fire Sword, Lee Jones, Tracy. Who's this? Pete Nikolic has just signed up as a YouTube member. Thank you very much. I thought you was already, so I'm not quite sure what that button is. Perhaps you've upgraded or something. Tracy, Blue Angel, Oscar, Jay Wheeler, quick roll call, Dog Star, by Raf Summer. I'll come back to your comment in a minute because that's a very interesting debate. Bloodnose, hello to you. Working the moderation as always. Thank you, my friend. Minge Pump, Gary Thornbury. There's even me. Factual Breakdown, my friend. Hello, good to see you. Pete, hello. Alan, Joseph, WTF. I always love that screen name. That's brilliant. Village Witch, Jean-Marc, hello to you. Oliver, Jeff and Jenny's Classic Restorations, hello to you. Froggles Boggles, that's another screen name I like. Joseph Kane, Michael Hancock, and various others. So if I've missed anybody, I do apologise. And let's crack on with it, shall we? Right, I saw a very interesting news article earlier on, which is the basis of this live stream, and I wanted to share it with you. The thumbnail for tonight, of course, is this. From left to right, we've got Elon Musk, Keir Starmer, and Dominic Cummings. Some very interesting characters for very interesting reasons, each individually. Now, the guy in the middle, of course, is in a little bit of trouble because it's becoming quite obvious he's up to his neck in shit, feeling the pressure, and we're getting all sorts of rules and all sorts of regulations coming through, which the long and short of it mean he might not be in a job much longer because of the pressure that's increasing on him. Now, the article I found was this one. Let's have a look. When my thing works properly, I found this very interesting indeed. And this is in a few news outlets. I just picked GB News. Elon Musk enlists Dominic Cummings as UK-based co-conspirator in a plot to sabotage Keir Starmer. Elon Musk is believed to have recruited political strategist Dominic Cummings to orchestrate a plot to sabotage the Prime Minister. And we all know that Dominic Cummings went to Barnard Castle to test his eyesight, but seriously, he was an ex-advisor to Boris Johnson. Cummings has also fueled Musk's recent controversial social media posts, sources are told the Daily Mail, which call for another general election in Britain, as well as the imprisonment of Starmer for his record on the gangs, and that's something that's going to come out very much. One of Musk's allies said it's 100% true that they are talking about smaller government and the end of the traditional party system. We'll come to that in a second. It's not just Elon. Dom is in constant contact with major Silicon Valley figures who are becoming increasingly anti-woke. There was an interesting interview or statement by Elon Musk with regard to wokery and the fact he wants to stamp it out. Politicians have suspected that the two were communicating with one another after his inclusion of British terminology such as two-tier care into his language. Well, everybody says two-tier care, don't they? Additionally, further consideration of the timing of his social media post led suspicious individuals to believe that he must have a UK-based co-conspirator writing the post for him, as many of his online activity occurs during the British daytime. I must admit, I noticed that one as well. The whole British daytime thing. You know, when you look at Americans who are posting stuff about any particular subject, we know the time differences. For example, between here and New York, it's, what is it, blood? 5 hours? Okay. No, 6. Right. 5. Right. And further on the other side of America as well. So when they start posting stuff readily at our time, you think, hello, but there is a thing, a scheduler where they can do it. But one of the things that jumped out at me on that news article was the comment about a smaller government and the end of the party system. As we've seen, particularly with the vote, when it came to whether we're going to have an inquiry into what's been going on in certain cities, certain towns in this country, which is absolutely abhorrent. The party system was very much in play. All of the Labour politicians were ordered, that's right, to vote in a certain way. In other words, decline the idea of having an inquiry. And what good does that do anybody? It's caused utter outrage. Now, if the party system wasn't in place, and if it was just, nominated independent representatives, we'll call them, doing the best for their constituents. Rupert Lowe is one. Absolutely wonderful MP, I think, and I hope he remains there. It could have been a different story. And we've had decades of this now, absolute decades, and it needs to come to an end. They talk about election interference and interfering in our politics with Elon Musk, with all of these tweets and everything else. But at the end of the day, albeit he's filthy, stinking rich, he is a private citizen and he has a right to make his opinions heard the same as anyone else. And when you see things like, oh, going to cancel X, going to shut it down, going to stop people, going to investigate, you know that he's over the target. You know many people are over the target, don't you? And it all becomes very sinister. But what we have to realize is, does Starmer or anybody else that we see in the public domain actually run things? Actually run things? And the answer to that is no, they don't. It's all a pantomime and it's all a show and everything's pre-scripted. You've got to ask yourself the question as well. If anything was going to change, then when we vote Labour, when we vote Conservative, or when we vote anybody else, how come nothing changes? It seems to be a slightly different variation of the same old shit over all those years. Don't make sense, does it? Don't make sense. I'm going to show you a video in a minute, so have a look at that. Let's just have a quick look at some of your early comments, see what you had to say. And wow, we got over 1,000 people watching. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. We haven't had numbers like that for a long time. Fire Sword. America is on its way. Don't worry. I actually saw your comment earlier. All of this is just going to go. And I really, really look forward to seeing the results. I am one that does not want this two-party system anymore. I think the party system is tired and worn out. Yes, there needs to be accountability. Yes, there needs to be democracy. Yes, things need to be voted on, but not for the benefit of the party. Rather than that, it has to be the people you're there to represent. No ifs, no buts. That's government. And if you can't do that, get the fuck out the cookhouse, you know? Next one, Blue Angel. It's nice when this community comes together on a Sunday evening. It is. It's wonderful. My my way of doing things is long form video. So I just walk around the street, sit in my car, do whatever, and tell you what I think. But I love the idea of doing this once a week, because then we can chat, we can get your comments heard, and that is equally as important. It really is. By Raf Summer, I've started a petition to bring back the death penalty in the UK. Would you be willing to support me? One of the big things that I feel is a problem with criminal justice, not only in this country, anywhere else, does the punishment necessarily fit the crime? Does it really? Because there's certain things that we're talking about right now. Doesn't matter what sector or demographic commits these offences. They're horrific, some of them. And the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I mean, there's this big debate about Nigel Farage, whether or not he said something about Shamima Begum coming back into this country. Well, in effect, he said, you know, maybe a debate might be on the table, kind of thing, at the end of that interview. But then she would come back here and she would go into prison and she would be out within no time at all on our streets, in our towns. And, you know, does the punishment for the crimes really, is it really there? So when you talk about the death penalty, yes, I'm a supporter of it in certain circumstances. But as somebody pointed out earlier, and I think it was Blue Angel, might have been Cosmic War Toad, one of the two. There are certain circumstances where that sentence is levied, and then years down the line, you find the person was innocent. So that's why you know, you have to be ever so careful. It's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And the other thing as well, if you look in to America, for example, there's a famous case where a young man called Brian Koberger went to the University of Idaho and murdered, well, let's put it right, allegedly murdered a load of college students. The evidence is overwhelming, but, you know, innocent until proven guilty in that particular system. He faces the death penalty for, you know, what he's alleged to have done. And if he is found guilty, he could sit on death row for 20 years, at whose expense? You would need massive reform of it as well. But, you know, get in touch with me, email me, let me know what your thoughts are. Joseph Kane, I feel we're watching a script play out, and President Trump already knows the playbook. President Trump never conceded. You know what, Joseph, and I said this in a video of mine earlier, and Andy the Cabby, guess what? I'm still stuck in hospital, but I'm here long term, so doing okay still. You must be getting bored by now. I hope you get out soon. Yeah, I did a video earlier, and I received an email about certain things that were going to happen to certain people at certain times. And often I get emails and I think, oh, piss off, you conspiracy theorist. You know, well, what's the point in that? But I'm beginning to see stuff that I remember in this email. So, you know, we'll have to see. Richard Butler, you're back to 9 p.m. permanently or just tonight? Anyway, Andy, best wishes in these very volatile times. Appreciate your analysis of the situations and indeed the platform this channel gives to us. You're welcome, Richard. I opted for 9 this evening because of stuff that's going on at home at the moment. I may well go back to 8:30. What I'll probably do is run a poll, because at the end of the day, it's your channel too. So we'll see what everybody else thinks. We'll come back to the comments again in a little while, but rolling back to this idea of who really runs the show, who's really in charge. I want to play you a video that's about 2 minutes and 49 seconds in length. So stay tuned for it. It's very revealing. Yes, it is Dominic Cummings. Like him or loathe him, I think you need to listen to this. And obviously let me know what you think in the comments. Here it is.
The person in the, so if you think of two roles, right? The Foreign Secretary in Great Britain and the private secretary in the PM's office responsible for foreign affairs, an official whose name has never been in the newspapers. That person was like 10 times more powerful and important than the Secretary of State was. And I think this is something which people just don't really realize. And it's part of like how the whole system has become fake. So you have fake meritocracy, fake responsibility, and then fake cabinet government. So they all walk up Downing Street, the cameras whir, they pose, they smile, ha ha, I'm going into the most powerful meeting, aren't I great? But it's all nonsense. The cabinet is just a kind of stage theatre. And actually officials in the cabinet office have already decided it all. When you sit in Whitehall now, right, in meetings, they are literally scripted. So when the Prime Minister has a meeting with ministers, what happens is that before the Prime Minister has that meeting, officials go into the Prime Minister's study and they give him a folder. And in the folder at the front is a thing called Chairman's Notes. And that's the script. And that's what the Prime Minister reads out. And the conclusions for the meeting are in the Chairman's Notes, drafted before the meeting happens, right? So the Prime Minister says, hello, Secretary of State, blah, blah, blah. And then all these officials sit around the sides on chairs around the edge of the room. And then the MP, the Secretaries of State, all look down at their folders because they've all got their scripts, right? And this is why I use the NPC meme, right? Because then the Prime Minister reads out, well, we're here to discuss blah, blah, blah. And then he goes around the room, and then Secretary of State for Justice or the Foreign Secretary reads out his bullet points, and then he reads out their bullet points, and they read out. If anyone goes on script, you see the officials sort of go, and then look over at the other official on the side of the room and kind of go, that means we'll come back to that after the meeting and make sure that that doesn't happen. And then at the end, it was a fascinating, great discussion. Thank you so much for your wonderful, insightful, original contributions. And then he reads out the conclusions which are all drafted in advance. And it sounds like a parody, but it is literally how the British state functions. And the MPs are happy with that, right? Well, how does the psychology of it work? The officials are happy because they have almost all the real power. The cabinet secretary is now 100 times more powerful than any cabinet minister apart from the PM. And the MPs are happy because this whole system pretends that they're in charge. So both sides are basically happy with the fake version of the government.
The fake version of the government, and both sides are happy. So you can imagine voting for people every time, every election, and there's no real power. They're not really in charge of anything, really. They are puppets put there to give us the idea of accountability, the idea of democracy, and it's all run like clockwork in the background. A lot of you probably knew this already. A lot of you were probably aware of it, but it's a good video to watch because it really is an eye-opener, and there is plenty of material like that online. And, you know, somebody with inside knowledge like that, you know, during the, let's say, the time where we all had to stay indoors and do as we were told, I was not very happy with him because, you know, the newspaper articles, but then you have to think, was that all by design? Was that all a distraction, going and testing your eyesight? Who knows? Who knows? But the knowledge that that guy has can be very useful, very, very powerful if change can be made in conjunction with any other influence. So it'd be very interesting to see how that goes. I mean, one of the crackpot things that comes out, I saw this newspaper article earlier with regard to cover-ups and government and all the rest. I mean, look at this. 4 councils backed a motion to classify that term as Islamophobic. And that's 4 councils, probably 4 Labour councils. It's making it so we can't say, we can't give an opinion, we can't speak. We can't show concern for our children. We can't show concern for our neighbours, our neighbourhoods, anything else. We are being slowly cajoled into silence. So when I see this come up in the news, I get quite excited because I think is it going to change? Is this going to do something to the establishment, I wonder? Daily chat on a Sunday with Andy the Gabby Cabby. We've got 1,700 of you in. I can't believe it. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you are new here and you're just watching for the first time, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends. And we're growing very much. I do appreciate it. Now, I'll be interested to see if we could get to 2,000 by the hour. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Let's have another look at a few more of your comments, and then I'll go through the next bit I want to go through with you. Where are we? Holly J. Jones. Nice to have a big audience, Sandy. Can you smarten up the garage with a screen, perhaps? I could let you into a little secret there, Holly J. I really could, but I'm not going to. I'll have to find a way of answering your question. Matty, Andy, love your channel. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Who we got here? Day State Sniper 01. All I want to know is this so-called TTK huge secret linked somehow to the groomers, Muslim vote, etc. I know some things, you know. So every now and again, some influential individuals come into my orbit, and I get told some things. Now, there's something I was told by somebody a while ago, and I'm sitting on it because I want to wait and see what does come out. But if it does, when it does, I'll be all over it. But I don't think it's going to be one big thing necessarily. I think it's going to be a series of little things that build up to a great big crescendo. That's what I think is going to happen. But they all seem to be on a path to self-destruction, don't they? Factual breakdown. Today is a very sad day for me. I lost my beloved dad 8 years ago. Bless you, factual breakdown. Never gets easier, does it? The more time goes in between when it happened and today. I lost my friend to cancer. It'll be 3 years this June. And I realised that for them, time stands still forevermore, but for the rest of us, it continues. And they're back there in the past somewhere. It's all horrible the way life goes. I mean, we have my mother-in-law living with us now. She moved in today. We had the hospital bed delivered yesterday, and we've got her living with us very, very poorly. So I can appreciate, you know, how people feel in difficult times. But bless you, bless you. Silver Moon, Cummings is a puppet controlled by others. Musk is a narcissist. Well, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it along with everybody else. Thank you, Silver Moon. But again, it will be interesting to see what happens with them in its stirring. Angel on the Hill, I don't think anyone needs to plot to bring Starmer down. He's doing a pretty good job by himself. You may well be right there. You may well be right. Julie, hi Andy, hello Julie, hope you're well. Saw some of your comments earlier. Thank you very much for your support as always. Matty, Elon Musk is giving Starmer the same energy Starmer gave Kamala Harris, 200 lefty cheerleaders while America were voting. Spot on. So if anybody complains about election or political interference, they're a bloody hypocrite, because look what we were prepared to do to try and sabotage Trump. 200 of the buggers going over there on a jolly, sticking their oar in support of Kamala. No, I don't think so. You can't have it both ways, can you? A couple more comments, and there's something I want to share with you very shortly. Ricardo, Elon and co are keeping the story alive because the British establishment are trying or would sweep it under the carpet. I think they try and sweep a lot of things under the carpet, don't they? And it's all sleight of hand, and they hide one story by putting another one over the top of it. It's all the same, isn't it? Now that's Rishi. They don't want an inquiry, as most of them have been involved. You've got that website, haven't you? You've got that website, Labour. I think it started off Labour 25. I think we're now up to 77 or something ridiculous, aren't we? But I think that hole is just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. No two ways about it. Now, speaking of the media, now I want to divert away from Dominic Cummings and Musk and everybody else for a second. We know that the media is part of the establishment. Yeah, you know, they try and influence what we think and what we feel on a daily basis. It's not only our country, every media in any other country is the same, isn't it? And the scary thing is the number of people that still believe it to be true. You know, if it tells you the sky is pink, people believe the sky is pink. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? More people are waking up every day. More people go on YouTube. They go and look at other news sources. They do their own homework, critical thinking, and all the rest of it. But you have those that remain. One of the ones that crops up a lot is Piers Morgan. He's very outspoken, very forceful in his views, and really digs into some very controversial meat. And when you get certain public figures within, well, our society that don't exactly fit the grain, it's people like Piers Morgan that dig a hole and shove them in and put the dirt on top. Now, one of these figures is Tommy Robinson. You know, you look on Piers Morgan's timeline, Tommy's had a bit of a kicking about, you know, where he is, what he's got up to, and lies, you know, and twisted truths. This is what the media is all about. Now, Paul Thorpe, and you can see the video on his channel, called him out, actually called him out, and said, you know, put your money where your mouth is kind of thing, and go see him. Well, Piers Morgan responded to Paul Thorpe's tweet. And what happened next, I found, was quite comical. I want to play you a 1-minute clip, which is Paul Thorpe's response to Piers Morgan.
So I made a video calling out Piers Morgan for his unfair remarks over Tommy Robinson. I posted the video on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And Piers actually responded with the following remark. No problem. What cell is he in? So I went to reply, but then I realised he blocked me, which really kind of shows the mark of the man, right? The only other person that blocked me on X is James O'Brien, so it's in good company. So Piers, look, if you do get to see this by any chance, I'll tell you what, instead of exaggerating and trying to make people look bad, instead of replying to me before blocking me, why can't you be man enough to take up the challenge? It's very simple. If you're so confident that you're right, then have the courage of your convictions and do the right thing. Because at the moment, you're becoming a bit of a laughingstock. And everyone needs to know, are your balls as big as your mouth? I think that's fair enough.
Are your balls as big as your mouth? I think has to be the most comical put-down line I've heard in the last fortnight. I was killing myself with laughing for ages after I heard that. But it's a very valid point, isn't it? It's put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. Amazing Disgrace. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. If phobia describes irrational fear, what term would describe rational concern? We need to stop letting them control the language. Absolutely. I mean, you have phobia. You have anything with the word, well, anything ending with ist or phobic. It's anything like that is described as a put down, isn't it? Or used as a put down to try and silence debate, to try and silence conversation. The left are very good at it, and they need to stop, don't they? Just before we go back to the comments, I just want to say we've got 2,082 people watching. I can't believe it. Thank you very much, everybody, for your support. And if you haven't done so already, give it the thumbs up. And consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. We do one of these lives every Sunday mostly, and you know, try and get your views heard and, have a bit of a chat about things. And it's great to see you. Thank you. Right, let's go back now and let's have a little bit of interaction with the comments. Right, Andrew Holt, well said. We only get to choose a party. They're laughing, the billionaires, these big corporations, they've already chosen leaders. It's been going on for a millennium. Exactly. If you go back probably about 300 years, I guess, and look at stuff on or before the Acts of Union in about, I think it was 1702, 1703, without looking, things were very different. Things were very different, and we need smaller, we need more accountable. You look at what we've got now, and people need to remember what they're put there for the people, by the people. And until we go back to that, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, at the moment, most of our current stock of leaders and senior politicians, if you put the words, well, letters W, E, and F after their name, a lot of them appear. And, you see who's running the show. Not the best. Aaron Bacon, £2 super chat. Thank you very much. Morgan has Tommy derangement syndrome. I think most of them do have, don't they? Really? I think most of them do have. At the end of the day, he's in solitary confinement, probably for his own protection within that prison, because if he wasn't in solitary confinement, he'd be ripped to shreds. But he shouldn't be in that prison. He shouldn't be in solitary confinement. He shouldn't even be in prison at all, because for a civil offence such as contempt of court, which he freely admitted on this occasion, if it was me or anybody else, you get fined. He's in prison because he's Tommy bloody Robinson. And the media will never change their tune. And it's scary who believes it. Who is the guy wanting the UK to have a Swiss-style referendum political system? Oh, he was on Richard Vogue's channel, wasn't he? I think I remember. I remember because I watched the video. Was it about direct democracy? I think it was that one. Sure, it was. Day State Sniper. How can the government expect a town's council to investigate when the council is a certain demographic? They won't prosecute their own when, in their eyes, this is not totally right. They're batting it down the line, aren't they? We don't want to know. Go away. Go away. That's where the Musk and Cummings thing comes in, smaller accountable government, maybe. Have you done your self-assessment before the end of January? Sean Mark says, my accountant is on the case right now, but thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. Tony Whitworth, well over 2 years now, still nothing about Nick Brown. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone. Where's his presence is only acknowledged online. Absolutely. It's amazing how people disappear, isn't it, into the ether. Hi, Andy. 8 days to go for the Southport Beast. Yeah, that's an interesting date, isn't it, David? What else is happening then? And, is it going to be swept under the rug, covered? Well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Gary, we know we do not have control of the justice system, so would the death penalty be abused by the system? You got to wonder. I mean, if you look through history, probably 60, 70, 80 years ago, maybe, at those that were accused of, found guilty of, rushed through the criminal justice system and ended up swinging. How many were proven innocent later on? You've got to be really, really, really cast iron sure. You really have. I mean, you have people banged up for a number of years as well who shouldn't have been. There are mistakes that get made, and you make a mistake with that. That is a real doozy. Maybe that's why people sit on death row for 20 years. Why would anyone actually be willing to put their life in the police's hands, Dave W? Once upon a time, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. My dad's an ex-copper, but that was another life, another generation ago. But now, No, I'd rather look after myself, I think. Tina, can someone tell me what difference to UK will Donald Trump make? There's a very big relationship between us and America, trading and defense and everything else. He's got millions of pounds invested here in golf courses and God knows what else. And we need certain things, like it or not, we need certain things. And that makes him a fairly big influence. If he doesn't like things that are well, you can have this on the condition that massive influence, I think. Mark, the reason this country is in such a mess is because there's no deterrent. My old man, who I just mentioned, Mark, called it the Ways and Means Act. You get the job done by any means necessary, any means at your disposal. Well, within the law, of course. And the punishment did fit the crime. I mean, I remember somebody that got assaulted, should we say, a good couple of years ago. And the perpetrator of the crime, it took well over a year before they even ended up in a court. And even when they were convicted of said assault, the punishment was crap. It really was. And when I spoke to my dad about it, he said it would have been dealt with within about 24 hours in his day. That's where it's all fallen down. Martin Cook. Andy, do you think these bent and corrupt establishment peers are using the Muslims to cover their own depravity as well? I think, yes, I think they're all at it in one way or the other. I think you've got that problem up there, and I think they knew about it. I think loads are going to come out. I think loads and loads and loads of this is going to come out. Absolutely. Andy Hudson. Evening, Andy. My old granddad used to say to me, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. I've come to the way of thinking that the deep state runs the... Well, you look at that video I played about what Dominic Cummings said. Says it all right there. Absolutely says it all. Late arrival. Did you know Dominic Cummings spent a lot of his early life living and working in Russia? Now he's talking to Elon, who is having discussions with Putin regarding... I did actually, because I remember looking into him quite a while ago. And because it always interests me, their work histories. For example, Starmer, some of his early experiences. Yes, he's a lawyer, but what else did he do beforehand? I mean, Nigel Farage even, what did he do beforehand? They all have pasts going back into the 80s or even earlier than that. And it's always worth travelling back. So, yes, I did know a few things. David, Dom was a special advisor, not a civil servant. He saw the shite they do to mess with the politicians. Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Special advisor to the Prime Minister, I think was his job title or something like that. And he would have seen it all from the inside. Matty Howard, Starmer calls himself a lawyer. He isn't a lawyer. He's a human rights barrister. Absolutely. And he talks about all sorts of things that he may or may not have done. And doesn't ring true, most of it, does it? Now that's Richie. Puppets, all controlled by the WEF, the WHO, and yeah, absolutely. And again, I implore anybody who doubts this to go on a search engine, type in the person's name, followed by the 3 letters, and have a look what comes up. They're all in it, up to their necks. Alan, I understand, sir, that you must protect your channel and you're doing a great job. I ask that you please push a little harder. Alan, yes, I am trying to protect my channel. Any self-respecting YouTuber would. I try and bring it to you, saying it in ways that would protect my channel, if you know what I mean. Because there's certain buzzwords. It's like if I see a word, I read a lot of these comments live, right? And I see a word like beginning with P, and I go, blah, 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 and I kind of mouth it, rather than saying it out loud. And then, That gives me a little bit more leeway to say certain things. Brian Jones, are people aware that Starmer is planning to remove power from our parliament and give it to his favoured local councils? Devolution must be prevented. Yep. I think Angela Rayner did a presentation on that, didn't she? That whole idea. Could you imagine, segregating it all further into all different parts of the country, regionally elected? It would just be a complete and utter mess. You need smaller government, more accountability, less interference with people's everyday lives, and allow us to live, work, be safe, control our borders, control our people, control the people coming in and out, control us, and allow us to have a few more quid in our back pockets. I'd vote for that in a heartbeat. Hi, Andy. How long do you give Rachel Thieves? I say, has she come back from China? March? That long? I mean, she's fucked it up totally, hasn't she? So we'll have to see. I'll have to see what happens. David, neither Elon nor Nigel are 100% to my taste, but each of them is doing things that I really like. Just got to accept no man is free from failings. Bless them both. I see them as disruptors. I see them as disruptors of the order, the way things have been done all this time. I disagree with the way things are being done, and I have done for a long time. To be clear, and I've said it on the channel before, I come from a conservative family. And as such, I voted Conservative for a long time because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And then I left home and then I woke up and I thought, David L., can someone say hello, please? I feel as if I'm in a cave. Hi, David. Hope you're well. And the cave you're in is my man cave, a.k.a. the garage. I got out in the big wide world and I saw things I didn't like very much, really. And that's the way things go. And I think more and more people need to have that personal journey themselves and realise it's not what it was. And only then can we change it. But there's a lot of debate about Nigel at the moment, some good, some bad. What's he up to? Is he going to jump? There's all the usual stuff. You just got to let it play out and think. Watch UK column news. Will do. I think I've seen some of this stuff, but not all of it. Andy, I watch your content because you don't jump on the bandwagon like other YouTubers. You give your stance on things, but don't force others to follow your lead. A lot of the time, I'll read something. Thank you, by the way. And I'll think, what the and I could so easily get on camera 5 minutes after that reaction. But then my content would be judged very much on my emotion, my reaction to that kind of, and it might not necessarily be correct. I made that mistake a few times in the past, and I've had to admit to it. But I try and be more measured, I think, is the answer. Linda, I can't agree with the death penalty. Look at the Lucy Letby case. She may eventually be pardoned due to false evidence at her trial. Otherwise, she would have said, yeah, I mean, that's you illustrate the point quite eloquently that I made earlier. There are cases throughout our history where they have got it wrong, and it comes out years later. They have got it wrong. So how would you introduce that and ensure that it was absolutely bulletproof beyond, well, they call it in America beyond a reasonable doubt, but it would have to be beyond a reasonable doubt on rockets. It really would. It really would. Ricardo, Channel 4 News today, glorifying and backing Gavin Newsom and blaming the weather change narrative that speaks volumes. It's Newsom and Bass on the mismanagement that caused issues in California. Yeah, there was Chris Packham as well, jumped on the climate bandwagon. And not far before that, I read that they'd arrested an arsonist. and there's been complete mismanagement of the whole water system there, which meant there's no water to efficiently fight the fires with. You've got a lot of wooden buildings. You're in an area which is known for quite ferocious winds anyway, and has done for a great many years. And it's just all come together in a calamitous mess and created a melting pot of disaster. I picked up from Heathrow yesterday a family who'd gone out to California to go and see one of their brothers. And they said when they left LAX and drove towards their relative's house, their brother's house, they said they saw all these wonderful buildings, all these mansions, all these posh places. Oh, look at all those, aren't they wonderful? Anyway, when they drove back to the airport, all they could see was cinders. It looked like something out of the apocalypse. It really was devastating. And, how could they rebuild from that? How long would it take? And, definitely it goes without saying, best wishes to all of the families and everyone involved. Simon H. Morgan is part of and doing what he's told, like Houses of Parliament. I could well believe it, Simon. I could well believe it. But it's part of the media circus, isn't it? Matty, Lammy is the most inadequate member of government. Second is by Raina, the Gobby. I've never heard her referred to as that before, ever. That's a new one. It's usually the ginger growler, isn't it, or something. Olivia, very interesting times. How everything seems to fall apart everywhere at the same. Yeah. That's another point as well. I remember a few years ago, you remember the term Build Back Better? There was a social media post that I saw that I came into contact with. And it had Boris Johnson, I think Macron, and a couple of other scattered all over the place. And they were all at a podium speaking to whoever they were speaking to. And the slogan on the front of their podium was the same in each case: Build Back Better. And that really showed me the coordination between all of these people. Crazy, huh? Vivian, when Blair came to power, the first thing he did was to ban any MP from speaking on anything or to anybody unless he'd approved it. It's got worse ever since. Think how many MPs you see speak today. Absolutely. And they're threatened. You know, speak their mind, end up losing the whip. And you've got to make a choice. Is your career more important to you than what's right by your constituents? I could never do it. I could never do it. And I would want to see more accountability, smaller, more manageable, you know. Andrew, oh, look, what are the odds Liz Truss? First she supported the Azov battalion and now she... Yeah, there was that thing, Maya Tusi put that out, didn't he? I've got to have a look at that. I'm going to watch it after I've done this live, but definitely go and check that out. David Nichols, where's the Sainsbury's bag? It was languishing on a nail in the background. It now sits by the side of my desk. Sainsbury's carrier bag, right down there. I'll have to try and find a way of putting it back. But lots of people used to tell me off saying I was a spy for Sainsbury's and it was a crafty bit of advertising. Endersby, if Trump is so important to the UK, why are we doing deals with China? Because UK is defenseless without the US. I can't understand why we do so many deals with China, because then you end up talking about people in Parliament that shouldn't be there, advisors of that ilk that shouldn't be there, plastic crap we import every year when we could be making homegrown stuff, all sorts of big... And what is the thing? But then again, when you look at those three letters I've mentioned several times in this live stream, and you look at the people associated with those three letters, there is a common link between them. Stakeholder capitalism. Look that up. It's very interesting. Very interesting. As the windsocks comes in pairs. You got to wonder if one of them's broken, then what? You got to, does the wind turbine hop or something, I wonder? And Matty Howard, Starmer will be removed because he's not a leader and he's causing Labour diehards to lose their seats like never before. He'll be gone by Christmas. He'll be gone. Yeah, absolutely. But what worries me is what's next. What takes his place? That's the thing. I mean, they're all crap in their own way. Half of them would have been sacked if they were working for a normal company. We all know that. Clued up UK patriot Bill Gates and George Soros have been interviewed. Yeah, I saw a great one on Bill Gates the other day. You know, money talks, bullshit walks. Really. Billy, what are your thoughts on David? I think, like many people who talk about certain subjects years before their time, he's been vilified, and a lot of what he says is coming to pass, isn't it? And with many others like him too. Very interesting listening to a lot of his stuff. Tony, the government are trying to make this evil crime an untold story. The courage of the victims to call it out will never let it become an untold story till real justice has been done. Real justice, absolutely. I mean, the demographic of those involved, apparently there is a mechanism to get shot of them and send them back whence they came. So why hasn't it happened, I wonder? Why? Lord Jim Dandy, Andy, because the lady loves milk tray. Yeah, I know what you're referring to. The way I'm dressed, I look like something out the milk tray advert, don't I? It's a new jumper that I got for Christmas and a black T-shirt, and it all goes together. I do look like that fella, don't I? Maybe, no, not quite my best side, is it? Not quite my best side. 2,042 people in the chat. Wow. Now that's Richie. Although Tommy R is saying all the right things, I think he's a bit too far right to be popular with many people, even people who support. If you go to London on one of his rallies, and I'm hoping I can get to the one on the 1st of February. I had a chat with my wife the other day about it. It's absolutely full. And what are the thoughts and feelings of all those people that turn up? They're turning up. Are they turning up for that man, or are they turning up in support of their country? What they turn? But the point is, there's thousands of them. And going back, he's been absolutely vilified, torn apart, and destroyed by the mainstream media. We spoke about that earlier with Mr. Your Balls Bigger Than Your Mouth. And if certain individuals in certain parties turn around and openly supported him, what would happen to them when they got a foot? There's more to this. There's a lot more to this. That's why I never react immediately. I always sit back, let the dust settle, watch what happens, and then come in with an opinion. I do. But when you've got the Nigels and the Richards of this world, but literally, if you've got nothing good to say, shut up. Takes the media's narrative away immediately. I like the way Rupert Lowe put it, by the way. Thomas, are you having Sovereign Pete back on any time? He was a great guest. The way the channel's gone, I've not thought about it. I did enjoy talking to him, and there's a lot coming up about council tax and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, maybe again in the future. In the not too distant future, because I'm having a bit of a ding dong with my local council about council tax, which kind of ties in with a lot of things. So again, I'm sitting on that at the moment. It's not quite the right time to blow that one. Liz Truss, joining that group's media event shows everything you need to know about our politicians not fit for the job. None of them are. They're not looking after the people they should be looking after. It's all about inclusivity, all about importing. It's all about all sorts of stuff. They fucked it up totally. Lord Jim Dandy, record tonight, Andy. Viewers, yes, I think it is. There was one live stream I did, I think 3 years ago, where I had at least 10,000 watching. but the subject it was on, you know, very, very much I could see why. But I've not had this really. It's wonderful, and it's just a testament to how far the channel's gone. It's great, and I appreciate all your support. Tony Whitworth, breaking: Labour Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, has rebuked Keir Starmer and calls for an inquiry into the gangs. No one saw that coming. No, I've seen something else to do with him as well. There's a documentary doing the rounds. I've not watched it yet. I'm aware of it, but it's a case of who knew. Who knew, really? Kevin, so you lot are not banging on about small boats anymore. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat, by the way. I bang on about what I think matters, what needs to, you know, be spoken about. I'm sure if the small boats need mentioning again, I will mention them again soon. But it's all the news narrative, isn't it? What kind of all comes together. But one valid point, while everyone's looking over there about the kids, what's going on over there about the boats? So it might be worth having a look-see. And thank you very much. Simon H. China is about to build their biggest embassy in London. What was I saying? You know, this is all smoke and mirrors and all bullshit. It really is. Tony, propaganda. The media is insane. Wind energy has cost taxpayers over £1 billion paid to shareholders of wind farms so they don't lose money. We're crippled with the highest energy price. We are totally. It's a big sham, and all that will happen is we'll pay more as a result. We definitely will. Spiderlog. They said Starmer be gone by Christmas and by start of 25. So though expect eventually will go, believe when it, you've got a point. You have got a point. I mean, he's like Teflon, isn't he? They say people like him will never resign. So I believe he'll get shoved out sooner or later. Definitely. Mark and Janice. Nobody wants to reign in billionaires when Zuckerberg was censoring and promoting mainstream propaganda during the Hunter Biden. Absolutely. No, they didn't. English Constitution Party, £10 super chat. Thank you very much. Dominic Cummings, stop the NE region. Trump, Musk, Cummings, get it. NAFTA is the same as the British Union, and the FEMA region's the same as EU. They get it. Absolutely. I mean, that's what a lot of people mix up, don't they? I mean, a lot of the politicians and a lot of the influencers are all saying Great Britain. They're all saying you, but what they don't realise is how much we were shafted and how long ago we were. And, you know, there's certain people that do get it. I think we're going to come to a head sooner or later. And really, your screen name says it all. It really does. Gold Mario 550, thank you very much for the £3 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Here we go. Now that's Richie. 67 came across the channel yesterday. There you go, 67. Eve Beaumont, Farage is seeing off his own because he doesn't want them speaking about Tommy. It's coming out, isn't it, that people are being instructed not to say anything bad, not to say anything detrimental, including about that narrative with him. I mean, look what happened to Howard Cox. I interviewed Howard Cox on here ages ago. He's a good man, principled. And, you know, for him to say some of the things he has is quite alarming. But I want to finish with this. It's quite obvious. And if you look at the way we started with this presentation this evening, the whole thing's buggered. We need a change, and I know what I'd like to see. I really do know what I'd like to see in the future, but I know it's going to be long in the future. We need to do it a step at a time, and reform, to me, is the closest we've ever got to peacefully do something about changing the situation. I can support that. I can support that. But when you get all this negativity coming out about the leadership and everything else, this rubs off onto that group. And you've got to ask yourself the question, what do you want? When do you want it? And how long are you willing to wait? I'm running out of time. You know, I'm nearly 50. I want to see this sorted before I certainly pop off. I don't want my kids to have to put up with it. I've got an 11-year-old son. I want him to grow up in a good world, one of our making. Corium, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. What's your thoughts on BRICS, NATO, UN, etc. actually all working together as one, making the world think we have enemies, but instead creating a world mirror for and actually the elites are? I'm starting to wonder if there might be something in what you've said, because the ultimate overriding goal of at least a couple of those is a one world government. And every time you create a conflict or make something imaginary that's going to affect everybody, you move towards that situation of, oh, we're all in this together, aren't we? And you look at how things cross with the UN and who and how. Yeah, you wonder how much coordination there is. There really is. It's definitely an interesting one to look at. Anyway, folks, I think this topped out about 2,050 people in here this evening. I am absolutely blown away. I really am. I'd love it if it was like that all the time. You lot sitting here listening to me for that long. Thank you ever so much. I thought it was a bit of an interesting subject, an interesting topic to cover tonight, because, you know, the players involved and what they actually know about the inner workings of government. It really is interesting. I'll bring you more of these. I'm going to run a poll in the week about when the best live is. I did 9 o'clock for personal reasons this evening. I needed to drag it out a little bit. There'll be more videos tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you with them, and please join in, leave your comments. I'm trying to get to as many of them as possible. Make sure you hit the like button on this, subscribe to the channel if you were just here for the first time. As always, I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.